Hey guys, just gonna wait for a couple of people to jump online as usual. I can't see any of the comments or anything because my front camera or my selfie camera on my phone isn't working, so I'm just using the back camera at the moment. I can't actually see any comments or who's coming on. So I'll just check now. Hey Lisa, hey Toby. I just wanted to do this video quickly because of a comment I read last night on Facebook. There was a post about Australian farmers and helping them out, and someone posted on there that basically why should Australians bend over backwards and help out the farmers and do all this when in other times of crisis there is the farmers. This was his argument: the farmers don't come out and assist. If there's a financial crisis and let's say some financiers or whatever go bankrupt, they say that farmers don't come and help out the rest of Australia. Why should we help them? And initially, straight away, I felt real, like I wanted to jump on there and really comment and say that farmers are the backbone of this country and, give him all the reasons why. But I had to stop and I didn't comment, but it really made me think about this question all night, really. I was basically laying there thinking about it all night. And the real reason that it is imperative that Australia remains or keeps its farms, not only keeps the farms we have, but expands massively the agriculture and export and just growth. The reason why that's so important is because, look, if the financial system collapses, okay, think the financial system really is just a house of cards, okay, and that can be blown over in a strong wind. Now, farming and farms that produce food for our country are the most valuable asset this country has. More valuable than coal, more valuable than any metals, more valuable than gold, more valuable than basically anything except for water. Water and food are the two most valuable assets any country can hold. First of all, because if there is a financial crisis, our country will be safe. Regardless of what the whole world is doing, regardless of what anyone else is doing, if we can feed and sustain our own population, we don't have to worry. Okay, maybe about the small things, but not about the big things like food and survival. If we do not have farms, if we stand by and allow our farms and farmers to not only deteriorate or to be lost to drought, but also to all the policies and rules and regulations that these chemical companies and politicians are putting on our farmers, basically forcing them to destroy the land through the use of chemical processes. Really the government should be encouraging farmers to go organic and to improve the land. That is optimum for our country. But really, the financial system, every other system in this country comes second to our agriculture, to our farming, to our food supply, because without that, if our country goes into a recession and we need to rely on imported foods from other countries, then we are under absolute 100% control of whoever is feeding us. If they don't feed us, we die. It's as simple as that. However, if we are able to maintain and keep and grow and expand our own ability to feed ourselves, which is necessary for survival, then, we must support our farmers. We must. If the guy was saying, they're not helping out these financial people and all these people who might go bankrupt if the financial system collapses. Look, if you build your house in a house of cards, if you build your livelihood inside a house of cards, then you better be prepared for a gust of wind to come along and blow that house over, okay? If you build your house on a sound, material, real structure that is solid in foundation, then you will not have that problem. You will not have to worry about a gust of wind coming and blowing it over. What I'm saying is, if you gamble your livelihood and your future in a financial market, that is absolutely your right, and you're entitled to do that. But if a gust of wind comes along and blows that house of cards down, you're responsible for that. But when it comes to a nation's food supply and most valuable resource, there is no scope for umming and ahhing. There is no scope for, debate. It's agriculture, farming, food is our number one priority next to water. Those are the two main ingredients for survival of human life. And if we can sustain ourselves in Australia, then everything else can come second. But right now we need to focus on ourselves, we need to focus on our country, and we need to get it back on track. So I'm grateful to the man who wrote that comment. I can't remember who it was, I can't remember the post it was on. I'd like to go and reply to that comment now, but I can't find it. But farming is the one thing that this country can rely on in any form of crisis. Our farmers are the only thing we can rely on to sustain life in this country. We cannot be subject to be controlled and manipulated by food, by having food imports. We don't need to be importing any food at all. We've got that much land in this country, and the technology is out there to turn as much seawater into agricultural water as is required. We just need to bring it here and put it into action. All the technology is there. These are the things that our government needs to be looking at, is ways of purifying that salt water, and the ways are already there. You just have to look it up and do some research and contact the people that are building them and get them shipped over here. At the moment that this country has an abundance of clean, fresh water to supply as many farms as we can hold and have, not only will we have an abundance of food, of organic food to feed our own country, we will have an abundance of jobs, but we'll also have an abundance of food to export and to share with the world. So there is absolutely nothing positive at all that can come from our farmers and our farms being left and ignored by our government and left to die on the wayside. There's nothing positive to gain from that at all, ever. So, this is my opinion, and this is how I see it. Everyone may have their own opinions, and I'm sorry I can't see the comments because, as I said at the start, I'm using the back camera because my front camera is not working. But farms are the most valuable material asset this country holds. Full stop. Farms and water. No farms, no food. That's it. So, all that money and all that stuff that's going into the financial market that's absolutely in a massive bubble right now. Well, we see the banks are starting to stop loaning. They're not loaning people money even when they own their own home pretty much. They're not loaning even money against the houses, even if they have the equity there. We see everything is starting to collapse already, but You know, it's imperative that we sustain our farms and grow and expand our farming and agricultural industry without all the chemicals and regulations and legislations that these so-called politicians put in place in order for them to get kickbacks from these chemical companies who are supplying the chemicals. And not only are they supplying the chemicals, they're supplying the seeds that are resistant to the chemicals. So what happens when you have a company that supplies the chemicals that destroys the land and then the seeds that grows it? You have absolute control. That land can no longer grow anything that is not resistant to that chemical. It's null and void unless you're growing the seeds that are genetically modified in order to survive the chemicals. So now we're eating seeds that are genetically modified to withstand chemicals. You know, and some people might be happy with that. Personally, I'm not interested in that at all. But some people may not, you know, feel here or there about that, and that's up to them. And then you've got the sell-off, you know, the sell-off of our land. You've got these politicians selling off our land and people, Australians, everyday Australians, selling off their land to foreign investors for this thing called money. Now, what I'm noticing is that the quality of life of majority of Australians is not improving. In fact, it's going downhill. Economically, health-wise, pretty much in every sort of sense you can imagine. We're slowly declining, and we're selling off our assets. We're selling off our public assets to foreign corporations. All this stuff that's happening, and our country is not getting richer. Our country is not getting better. It's only going downhill. So if all this money is coming in from foreign investors and giving them title to our sovereign land, and that's still not improving the lives of everyday Australians, what is going on? I mean, what is going on? You know, taxes are being raised, you know, pensions are being cut, everything's imploding on itself, yet somehow some people still believe that everything is happening and, you know, the government has our best interests at heart, you know, regardless of what's happening around them and in their families, in their environments, regardless what's happening to them. You know, they still just want to believe that it's all for the best of our country. Well, it's not for the best of our country. Selling off our public assets to foreign corporations is not in the best interest of our country. Selling off our sovereign land to foreigners is not in the best interest of our country. Cutting off pensions, mandatory immunisations, all this stuff is not in the best interests of our country or our countrymen, period. And if you think I'm wrong, then do your own video and explain why I'm wrong, and please tag me in it so I can watch it. And maybe you can teach me something, maybe I can learn something from you. But yeah, it's not positive. But anyway, farms, agriculture is the most valuable asset that we can have in this country. We need to support and do what we can to even grow and expand our agriculture industry in an organic way, organically. We've got to get rid of all these pesticides and all these seeds that can only grow, you know, in certain grounds. We've got to stop this control. That is absolute control. However you look at it, if you put chemicals on land, and that then renders that land null and void to grow anything except seeds that come from the same chemical company, and only those seeds can grow in that land, that land is now null and void except for those seeds. Now, that is absolute control of that piece of land by the by the corporation who owns it, not by the farmer who's been forced into using these things through legislation and all this illegal statutes and things that they're trying to impose. But this is complete control by the corporations who own the chemicals and the seeds. And if you think about that on a grander scale and you apply that to chemtrails, I'm not saying that's exactly what's happening, I don't know, but that's what I feel when you look in the sky and you see these people spraying all these chemicals and heavy metals that are absolutely scientifically proven to be detrimental to the health of living organisms, plants, human beings. You know, if you continue to spray, let's say Roundup. Let's just say, for example, you continue to spray Roundup in an area until it renders that area pretty much null and void of any life except for Roundup resistant seeds to go into that. Well, imagine that on a global scale. Just imagine that chemtrails were actually there to basically transform the land into being only able to grow seeds that come from one corporation, genetically modified seeds. And, you know, I'm not saying that that's what's going on. I'm not saying it's happening. All I'm saying is that they have been spraying for a long time, and it's proven scientifically to be negative for the environment and the human being. And, you know, and they're also producing these seeds. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the same companies that are dumping this stuff in our skies and in our farms, it's not a coincidence that they're the same companies that make the seeds, you know. It's a centralized control of food consumption for an entire species known as human beings, which I'm not real keen on that idea. Some people may not care about it, maybe here nor there, but for me, it's a real big problem. Anyway, that's sort of enough. I've gone for long enough. I'm going to try and keep it short. And thanks for watching. Sorry I haven't gone through any of the comments at all. Again, I'm just using the back camera of my phone. I cannot see any of the comments or anything because my front camera is not working properly at the moment. But yeah, thanks for watching. Please share, and yeah, see you all soon.